So I've themed this buy-in because a lot of times I've gotten the question, how do you get your team to buy into the way you play? To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the phrase buy-in because it to me references almost that you have to be a salesman, and I look at more as a team project. So even as I go through this, I like to think of it more as internal belief, and so I think there's two ways that you create that. And so one are the tactical details, your style of play, the way you think about football, how you like to arrange your team. When I think about the way that we play football, a lot of people say that we are a pressing team, we're a vertical team, we're an intense team, we're a gegenpressing philosophy. I like to think of it as we are a pressing team, and I think we are very much committed to that. But we don't press to gain possession. We press to score goals. And I think that's a fundamental, important detail within our philosophy and within our strategy, is it's not pressing to gain possession. It's always with the idea that we're looking to go to goal as quickly as we can. So that'll be important. Even as we go through things, I'll describe that. I learned a lot from Ralf Rangnick and from the Germans, the way they think about football, that vocabulary and details of explaining how we play about football are incredibly important. I'll talk more about how elaborate that is, but how important the efficiency is as we go through things. But the vocabulary, the vast vocabulary I learned from the Germans was really, really important to my development. And then it winds up, this phrase I love, and it's an American inventor that came up with this phrase, but the success is in the sum of the details. And so the details are important, going through the details, ironing out the details, communicating the details. And the more that there's a common understanding as to what that is, I think the easier it is for the players to execute. Then the next part is the mentality. And, they almost make fun of me here in Austria because I use this word so much, but once you get through the football, the mentality becomes so important. So I'll go through what I can, all in, the togetherness of a team. I really try to create ownership at a really high level from within the team. Youth development is a major part of what we do here. Then growth of the entire team and the individual. I use this word empty the tank to talk about how to commit yourself at the highest level every day. And then, like I talked about before, difficulty. So let's start to get into some of the details with the tactics. Okay, so within our network, we have this term we use, SARD. It's an acronym. Okay, so the S stands for sprinting. And, a lot of people will talk about our football and then our the way we run and the way that the loads that we have in games. But it's not just how far we run, it's how intense and how many sprints we have per game. So that is really, really important, especially when we're in pressing modus. Next is it's a German acronym, so it's alle gemeinsam, which means all together. And so this part is really important, that when we start to sprint and when we start to attack against the ball, that we always do it together. The next part is Reingehen, and this is a really important detail because a lot of teams talk about pressing, and I watch them press, and their players stop 1 meter before they get to the opponent or 1 meter before they get to the ball. And what's so important is that you go through, that you attack the ball, that you always are thinking about winning and not so much worried about protecting passing lanes, not so much worried about getting beat. Because when we all go together and we commit all the way, our chances of being successful are much higher than if we stop short and if we only go 2 or 3 guys at a time. And the last part is dazukommen, which is sort of like the second and third player, or in English, what I like to call the second wave of people coming through. So let's go through some videos of this, okay? So first, what I have here on your screen is a little bit of data. And so you see our distance, okay, of 124 meters. That's our entire distance for our team in one game without the goalkeeper. Then here we look a lot at our sprinting distances, okay? So this is very high speed sprints, and these are sprints in general. So that's above 20 kilometers per hour over at least a 5 meter distance. So total here, what you have is 667 sprints for 10 players in the game. So the sprints are something that we always look at. But then what you can also look at here are this number 3,700 and this number 7,400. This is the 3,000 number is our sprints with the ball when we're in possession, and the 7,000 are our sprints when we don't have the ball. And as you see, it's double, roughly double. And that winds up being really important. We talk so much about our sprinting, but it has to be that we're intense, more intense against the ball, that we sprint against the ball, that whenever we're attacking, that we're always thinking about how hard, how fast, how intense can we be against the ball. Everything I'll take you through here is when we're in our 4-2-2-2 formation. Now, for me, the formations aren't so important, but I tried to keep some continuity here so that everybody can at least understand a little bit of how it fits positionally with what we're doing. But we play, since in my time here, I've played 11 different formations. So the formations aren't nearly as important as now the fundamental habits that we have within the formation. So what we have here, and I made this a little longer because this was in our cup final right after we played right after the first Corona lockdown. And what you'll see is there's a little bit of time here where we're recovering and getting back. And that's what's important is, I know it's difficult when you think about a team sprinting for 90 plus minutes, always every game, but there's a rhythm to the game. And that's what's, I think, really important to understand. And that's what we try to commit to, is there are times when we come more compact, and it's not that we're intense all the time, but certainly when we are intense and when we are ready to play at a high level, that we're always ready to then sprint. Okay, so you'll see here that the opponent is getting ready for a goal kick. He plays the ball, and you can see that the entire team now is starting to attack, closes the ball down, wins the ball, turns it quickly into a moment in front of the goal, and scores. Okay, so sprinting together, 100%, making the last step. And when you win the ball, not thinking about possession, but thinking about how quickly you can score a goal. So that's a good example there of sprinting. Okay, next. All together. All right, so this was a preseason game we played not last summer, but 18 months ago summer against Chelsea. It was a wild game. I think we wound up losing the game 5-3, and it was like 5 weeks into my time with our team. But what you'll see here is this part about all going together. Okay, so we're in a little bit more of a compact state here. And you can see that when they all start to go, they go together. This part right here. So even though the player doesn't win the ball, it's important that he goes after the ball all the way, and that he commits to that, knowing that the others are coming with him. So if he doesn't trust that the other players are coming with him, then he's not going to go in and try to win the ball. So the trust and the commitment tactically for the entire team to go together it frees players to be aggressive and frees them to want to try to win the ball. Okay, so we'll keep moving here. You see the circles. So another point. So if you watch Marcelo Bielsa with Leeds, he is a big believer of against the ball, but he does a lot of man marking across the field. So you could stop a game at any moment with Leeds when they're against the ball, and you could almost say, all right, every player is matched up with an opponent and they're playing 1v1. We call our pressing ball orientated, right? So you can see right here in this space that we're 5 against 3. And we believe that when we attack all the way, and we commit to winning balls, that we're gonna outnumber opponents in spaces on the field, which is gonna increase our chances of winning the ball, right? And then we often leave players on the opposite side of the field open. Then when we win balls, we're always trying to play forward and attack and go as aggressively and quickly as we can to goal, because we feel that the opponent is disorganized in those moments.
For access to the full webinar and more exclusive coaching content, sign up for your free trial today at academy.coachesvoice.com.